शङ्करांश भूम शङ्करार्यपीठसद्गुरुन् शुद्धसत्त्वभासुरान् सुवर्त्मनीतभूसुरान् सर्वभूतसौख्यदान् क्षमाकरान् यतीश्वरान्.
श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. चरणद्वन्द्वं वन्देऽहं मतितदुस्सहद्वन्द्वं भ्रान्तिग्रहोपशान्तिं पांसुमयं यस्य भसितमातनुते. So in this Svatmanirupanam, studied up to the 19th shloka. In the last shloka, that is the 19th one, we had seen that the reasoning was very strongly applied there, that even after negating all the anatma, that is the panchakoshas which are experienced, which are objectified, what remains unnegatable is Atman. Even though that Atman is unnegatable and definitely it is there, it is definitely not something paroksha. Paroksha is something immediate, something which needs some pramana for knowing it. For example, a pot outside is paroksha to me unless and until I use the pramana, the eyes, and see it and then know that there's a pot. So only after it is known by using a pramana, it becomes aproksha. So till then it is paroksha. But then the case of the Atman is not so. That's what the shloka says. Even after negating the 5 koshas, the Atman remains over. And even if it is not known through any pramana, still it is not paroksha. It is definitely aproksha only by nature. And that is why Bhagavat Pada in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya clearly says that everyone experiences that he exists. Nobody denies his existence. That's how he says in the Sutra Bhashya. Now in this 20th shloka, we will see some more aspects of Atman, which is Brahman. Na avedyamapi paroksham bhavati brahma swayam prakashatvat satyam jnanam anantam brahma ityetasya lakshanam pratate. So the meaning of the shloka, so I am now using the Hindi commentary because the scan that I have got with the Sanskrit commentary, the 19th, 20th and the 21st shloka, all 3 shlokas are missing there. So till the 21st shloka is over, we will have to rely on this Hindi commentary, which is quite good. So the meaning of the shloka is Brahma Agnat hota hua bhi paroksha nahi hota. So even if that Brahman is not known to us through some pramana like an object, yet it is not paroksha. That is, it is not immediate or indirect. Kyonki wo swayam prakash hai. Because the reason is Atman is swayam prakasha, so it doesn't need any other agency to validate its existence. So that is how we say in the world also, swayam prakasha, for example, the sun. So we don't have to use a lamp to know the sun. So the sun is swayam prakasha. So this one example is given in the Shastra also. So here the Atman is also of swayam prakasha nature. So it doesn't need any other pramana to know it. It is luminous itself, self-luminous. But the Shastra is needed to remove the obstacles. That's all. That is the sole function of the Shastra, to remove the obstacles to the perception of Brahman. So that is the entire Shastra lore is for that only. Then the meaning further continues. Ved Bhagavan Satya Jnana Ananta Brahma ke Prasiddha Lakshan kahte hain. So this translator or this commentator says Brahman is Bhagavan. Whereas in our Vedanta, Bhagavan is a name used for Saguna Brahman, Krishna or Rama or Paramashiva. But then Bhagavan is not used normally for Brahman. So here, anyway, this commentator says Veda specifies Brahman to be of the nature of or attributed Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That is a famous Taittiriya Shruti Vakya. So in the commentary, the Hindi commentator says, जो वस्तु अवेद्य बिना बिना जानी हुई होती है वो तो सदा ही परोक्ष रहती है. सो इस शंका को दृष्टि में रखकर कहते हैं. सो दिस श्लोका हैज द question in mind that any object, that is a rule, that the normal rule that we have already seen now, any object that is not known to us through some pramana remains paroksha only. So that is the general norm in the world. So keeping that norm in the world, this shloka comes to say something that Brahman is not of that nature, even though it is not known through any pramana. Since it is self-luminous, it never ever remains paroksha to us. So that's what it says. कहते हैं न avedyam api paroksham bhavati brahma. Even though Brahman is not known through any pramana as an object, yet Brahman never is paroksha to us. That is, it is never indirect to us, or it is never immediate to us. Never immediate to us. Then Brahma Tattva इंद्रियादियों से अवेद्य न जानने योग्य होता हुआ भी कभी परोक्ष नहीं हो सकता. So he says Brahma Tattva, Brahman is not objectified or known through the mind or buddhi, that is the intellect and the or sense organs or the motor organs, say avedya. So Brahman is not objectified by any of these instruments, because these are the only instruments at our disposal to know the world. So with these instruments, if we try to know Brahman, it is not possible, because it's actually Brahman that is enlivening these instruments to perform their functions. That is the famous Bhagavata shloka where Dhruva, when he gets the darshan of Bhagavan, he says, Yo anta pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjivayat takhila shaktidhara swadhamna. Then he goes on to say the other organs like prana, indriyas, and all these things are only enlivened by you. They are all jada. They can't perform their functions, their designed functions by themselves, unless this chaitanyam, this power of consciousness is lent to them. So that's how the Dhruva Stuti is a annotation of the Kenopanishad. The beginning of Kenopanishad itself is that only, Keneshitam Manaha. So there also the very teaching is that the mind, the organs and all that, they get sentience through the consciousness only. So unless consciousness is associated with them, these instruments can't perform their designed functions at all. So Brahma Tattva, Man Buddhi Indriyadiyon se avedya. It is not known through the instruments which are at our possession. न जानने योग्य होता हुआ भी कभी परोक्ष नहीं हो सकता. So even though Brahman can't be known through these instruments, yato vacho nivartante, na tatra chakshur gacchati and all that. So that is a Kenopanishad also says that the eyes or any other organ doesn't reach Brahman. What it means to say is with these instruments we can't objectify Brahman. With these instruments we can, and we have to objectify other things in the creation only with these instruments. But Brahman cannot be objectified by these instruments. That's what the Upanishad says. न जानने को योग्य होता हुआ भी कभी परोक्ष नहीं हो सकता. So even because despite the impossibility of or inability of these instruments at our disposal to know Brahman, yet Brahman doesn't remain indirect or paroksha to us. यदि आप कहें कि ऐसा तत्व परोक्ष भी हो सकता है, तो हम कहेंगे कि वो जाना भी जा सकता है. So if someone says that such a tattva can be paroksha, then the reply is वो जाना भी जा सकता है. It can be known also. So the rule is anything that remains paroksha to us can be known through, can be objectified and known through some pramana. But Brahman is not such an object which can be known through any pramana, but still it is not paroksha to us. So प्रयोजन यह है कि जो मन अपने से भिन्न होता है, उसी को मन बुद्धि इंद्रियां जान सकती हैं, जड़ मन बुद्धि आदि कैसे जान सकते हैं? So he is also specifying that we can know something only those objects or those things which are not ourselves. In the sense, the objects are definitely not ourselves. They are beyond. They are outside ourselves, and only because of that reason they can be known, and they are required to be known. But what we ourselves are, that is Brahman, that is not of the category of these objects outside. So this Atman or Brahman, which we are ourselves really, that can be known through any instrument. So that is the logic here. So we can know something only, we can know only those things which are different from us. But what is we ourselves, what constitutes ourselves, that cannot be known at all. It can never become an object of knowledge at all. That's the rule he is specifying here. प्रयोजन है कि जो अपने से भिन्न होता है, उसी को मन बुद्धि इंद्रियां जान सकते हैं। जड़ मन बुद्धि आदि कैसे जान सकते हैं? So here also the Brahman is distinct from the mind body complex, that is the mind instruments, ahankara and all that. But yet even applying that rule, Brahman can never become an object of knowledge, just because it is different from these instruments. So these instruments are incapable of knowing Brahman, that is incapable of shining Brahman. So we have the Gita shloka, natatra suryo bhati chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi. So there in the 15th chapter it says that tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. So the luminous bodies like sun, moon, fire, lightning and all that, they can illumine the objects of the world. But then those luminous objects themselves, bodies themselves, they can't illumine Brahman, which is actually which is the cause because of which the luminous bodies are luminous. So the luminous bodies are luminous only because of Brahman. Because of Brahman's Jyoti only, these luminous bodies are luminous themselves. But then yet they can reveal the whole world, but then they can't reveal Brahman. So that's what the shloka says there. So here also, जड़ मन बुद्धि आदि कैसे जान सकते हैं? ब्रह्म के प्रकाश से चेतनीभूत होकर, परंतु ब्रह्म का अन्य कोई साक्षी नहीं है, वो स्वयं साक्षी है, अतः वो अपने आप ही अपने को जानता है. So ब्रह्म के प्रकाश से चेतनीभूत होकर. So this is the teaching of the Keonopanishad. So these instruments which are jada, they are not suprakasha. They get sentience only through the prakasha of Brahman. That is because of the proximity of Brahman, they get sentience, and they get the capacity to illuminate or reveal other things. So ब्रह्म के प्रकाश से चेतनीभूत होकर, परंतु ब्रह्म का अन्य कोई साक्षी नहीं है, वो स्वयं साक्षी है. लेकिन but then Brahman does not have any anything to witness it or anything to reveal it. So that's what it is. वो स्वयं साक्षी है. So here we can recall the famous Lalita Sahasranama name, Vishwasakshini Sakshivarjita. So she, the Lalita, that consciousness, that is pure consciousness, that is named Lalita there, is stated as Vishwasakshini. She is the one which is who witnesses the whole creation. But then she doesn't have any other witness who witnesses her. So that's the meaning. So Vishwasakshini Sakshivarjita. So she doesn't have any Sakshi which can witness her or which can reveal her, which can illumine her and all that. So all these meanings are there for the word Sakshi. So here also, Brahman is the Sakshi for everything, whereas there's nothing which is the Sakshi for Brahman. So when we say Brahman is the Sakshi for everything, we have to know this sequence. So Brahman can be the Sakshi for everything with this through this sequence only. That is, closest to Brahman is the Ahankara, that is the Anandamaya Kosha, and beyond that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, then the Manomaya Kosha, then the Pranamaya Kosha, and the Indriyas and all that, and then the Stula Shariram, and the instruments are all located in the Stula Shariram, which is called Golaka, that is the orifices in the gross body through which the extremely subtle indriyas function. So through that orifice, the world is known by us. The world of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha world is known by us. So all this sequence we have to remember when we say Brahman is Sakshi of the whole Jagat. So the whole Jagat is known through these instruments only. And these instruments, in turn, which are definitely, no doubt, Jada, which are products of the Prakriti Panchabhutas, they get the illumination or the sentience from Brahman through this process. In fact, we can even say that the Chidabhasa, that is the reflected consciousness in the body, that is the reflection is in the Antakarma, that is a part of the Sukshma Sharira. So that acts as a kind of a transformer from which the power is supplied to the individual apartments. So in the same way, here also the Chit Abhasa of Chit in the Antakaranam, first the body receives the Prakasha through that reflection, and from that reflected consciousness, the other parts of the body get the sentience and the capacity to reveal the objects outside, which can be summed up into the 5 tattvas, that Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha. So these things can be very clearly and very nicely understood from the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 5th and 6th slokas. So nicely they say that. And in fact, they even go to the extent of saying specifying that the reaction of knowing or contacting the outside objects like Icha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham and all that, they are also actually belonging to this Anatma only. They don't constitute Atma at all. So these things are all there in the Gita, very nicely stated. So वो स्वयं साक्षी है, अतः वो अपने आप ही अपने को जानता है. So Brahman knows itself. So what it means is Brahman is self-luminous. That's all. Brahman doesn't need to know itself. So Brahman is simply Prakasha Swarupa. वो स्वयं साक्षी क्यों है? So he poses a question: why is Brahman स्वयं साक्षी? Swayam Prakashatvat, that's the reason given in this sloka. So because it is Swayam Prakasha, it is Swayam Sakshi. That's the commentator says so by raising the question. Kyunki wo Swayam Prakash hai, Swayam Jyotihi iti Brihadaranyaka Shruti. So he is recollecting or citing the Brihadaranyaka mantra passage where this word Swayam Jyotihi is there. So in that Brihadaranyaka, the Swayanjyotistvam of Atman is established by reasoning, by the reasoning of taking the or analyzing or studying the Swapna state. That is the Swapna, that is the dream state. So there, the Upanishad has a very ingenious way of that the Atman is Swayam Jyoti by not taking the waking state. The reasoning is this. In the waking state, we have all the activities, we perform so many activities and all that, but then we have a feeling that all these activities are taking place in the sunlight or moonlight or whatever. Yeah. So sunlight or moonlight. So this delusion is there with us, that we take it for granted that all these activities are happening under this light only. But then the Upanishad, that's why the Upanishad doesn't take the waking example. It takes experience. It resorts to the dream experience where the physical sun, moon, and all that are not available there to illumine what is happening in the Swapna world. So the Swapna world might have sun, moon, and all that. That is immaterial. But then the Upanishad wants to convey that the physical sun and moon and all that outside the body of the person who is sleeping and dreaming now, they are not available to illumine the dream world that has been created in the mind. But then the person, as long as he is dreaming, he doesn't have the idea that it is a dream. He thinks that it is waking only. So that is the catchword that is the very advantageous position for the Upanishad to very clearly demonstrate that despite the absence of the physical lights, these things are happening. But then this vyapara is happening. It is able to generate sukha and dukkha, fear and all that. It is able to generate all kinds of emotions and feelings in the person. And a person can even get knowledge also. Like, for example, in the case of Ramanujam, it seems he used to get solutions for the mathematical problems. Of course, he used to acknowledge that as the grace of the goddess of that place, Namakar. So these things all happen. They are not falsified. So that is the idea. That is what has to be stated. Even though these solutions were received in the dream, they are not falsified in the waking. So they continue to be valid solutions. So that's the idea. So in any case, the dream is able to give us all sorts of experiences, including knowledge, valid knowledge and all that. But still, all that happened without any of these outside lights at all. So by default, the Upanishad says you have to accept that these things happened only in the light of the Atman, of the person who is dreaming. So he has himself been the illuminator and the Sakshi of this Swapna Prapancha. And the Swapna Prapancha, what all happened in the Swapna Prapancha happened because of the blessing of the Atman, that is the light of the Atman. Just so from that, it draws the conclusion or extends it to say that in the waking also, this is what is happening. So it resorted to the dreams experience because of this reason. So it can show very well that without the in the absence of even in the absence of the outside physical sun and all that, you were able to experience all these activities, all these things happened. So that is what is meant by Swayam Jyotish Brahmanam. That's Brahman itself is called Swayam Jyoti Brahmanam, and that is where the Ekashloki also, that is the source for this Ekashloki of Bhagavat also. So here, Swayam Jyotihi, Atrayam Purushaha Swayam Jyotihi, that is the passage in the Upanishad. यदि ब्रह्म पर प्रकाश होता तो पर वस्तु उसको जान सकती थी, परंतु ऐसा है नहीं, अतः इंद्रियातीत ब्रह्म परोक्ष नहीं हो सकता. So he concludes that part of the commentary. यदि ब्रह्म पर प्रकाश होता, if Brahman were to be illumined by some other source, some other luminous body, so पर वस्तु उसको जान सकती थी, then some other object or some other instrument could have known or could have been instrumental in knowing Brahman. But this is not the case. Such is not the case. Because Brahman is Suprakasha itself, it doesn't need any other outside agency to illuminate it. Ataha Indriyatit Brahma Paroksha nahi ho sakta. Therefore, the Brahman which is beyond the senses. So when we say senses, we have to include mind also, intellect, mind, ahankara and all that. The entire range of Panchakoshas. Indriyatit Brahma Paroksha nahi ho sakta. Brahman can never be Paroksha at all because there are no instruments to know it. But then there is no need for any instruments to illuminate. Brahman is Swaprakasha, Swayam Prakasha. So it is always Aparoksha to us. So that is the shloka. Then Brahma ke Swarup Lakshan kya hai? So the shloka also has shown us in the second half of the shloka, it has cited the Upanishad by saying what the Upanishad says about Brahman. As Brahman's Swarupa Lakshana. Brahma ke Swarupa Lakshana kya hai? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma iti etasya Lakshanam Satya. So he is now giving the meaning for each of the attributes. Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam, there are three attributes given to it. Actually, attributes is not a correct word for that, but then because for want of any other word, we are using this. Satya, Avinashi, Trikala Bhadya, Nitya. So Satyam means something that doesn't change at all and that doesn't become negated at all at any point of time. So in all three periods of time, it remains the same without any vikara, that is, without any transformation. So that's why we can recall the famous Bhashya passage when the Bhashyakara explains this word Satyam in the Taittiriya Upanishad. He has specified that Yadrupena Yannishchitam Tad na vivicharati Tat Satyam. So Yadrupena Yannishchitam Tad na vivicharati Tat Satyam. That is, yes, if some object has been determined to be of such nature, and it doesn't give up that nature at any time, that object can be called Satyam, that alone can be called Satyam. And Yadrupena Nishchitam that Vyabhicharati, that Anrutam Ityuchate. So the opposite also has been stated by Bhagavad. So something which has been determined to be of some nature at a given point of time, and later it changes, it gives up that nature, then that object cannot be called Satyam. So that's how the Upanishad Satyam has to be understood. So the Bhashyakara has given such a very nice explanation for that. So, and he says, if something doesn't satisfy the first condition, then it can't be called Satyam. It has to be definitely by default called Anrutam. It is false only. It is not Satyam, it is false only. And he is also citing the, see, a question, if someone might question, okay, something might be Anityam, but why should you call it Anrutam, false? For that, the Bhagavad has got the support of the Chandogya Upanishad. Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam mritiketyeva satyam. So the Upanishad very clearly says, even with respect to the clay products, the gold products and iron products, in with those three examples, the Upanishad says clearly that any transformation of the raw material, clay, gold or iron, the products are all not real by themselves. They are only words used by us for Vyavahara, and Vyavahara goes on without any hindrance. But then if someone wants to know the tattvam behind this Vyavahara that we are doing, then the Upanishad steps in and says that these objects, that is the transformations, the products or the effects or the karyam is not real at all. But what is real in them is only the Mula Karanam or the Upadana Karanam. This is the material cause. That alone is Satyam, but the transformations which have a name and form, all that are not Satyam at all. So, Mritiketyeva Satyam, by saying that Vacharambadam Vikaraha Namadeyam, it's only name, and also by the Upanishad using the emphatic word Eva, Mritika, Eva is Satyam. Bhashyakara has that power behind him, that's the strength behind him, to say that anything that gets transformed, it can't be put in the category of Satyam at all. It has to be put into the category of Anrutam, that is Vidya only. Then Satyam Avinashi, that is, it will never go out of existence. Then again, you can remember the 2.16 of the Gita, Nasato Vidyate Bhavo, Na Abhavo Vidyate Sataha. That is that portion. That is Abhava, that is non-existence, that is existence, pure existence will never go out of existence. That is the declaration made in the Gita. So, and the person who knows that through experience is the Jnani. That also it says. And it also says that the opposite also has to be known by him. In the sense, that which is non-existent can never ever get existence at all, real existence at all. So that also has been said. Na abhavo, na asataha vidyate bhavaha, then na abhavo vidyate sataha. So these two things, ubhayorapi drishtaha antaha tu anayoho tatudarshihi. So he is a tatudarshi who knows for sure, without any doubt, he has a strong conviction about these two things. And इस श्लोक में भगवान शिकार ने तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद का प्रमाण दिया है, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So in this sloka, Bhagavan Bhashyakara has given the pramana from the Taittiriya Upanishads to say what this Brahman, which even though it is avedyam, that is, even though it is not an object of our knowledge, is definitely not paroksha. So there are a few more lines, we can take them up in the next class. That is the Anantam portion and the Jnanam portion and all that. They are all a very nice involved discussion. We can end the session here. Shri Guru Charana Dvandvam Vandeham Matita Dussaha Dvandvam Bhrantigrahoka Shantim Basitam Atman Basitam Yasya Basitam Pamsumayam Yasya Bhaditam Atanute Shastram Sharirami Mamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santume Janma Janmani Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vetaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tatvajnam Vidushekara Bharati Om Tat Sat.